A little bit, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Only for looks, no aerodynamic purposes.
Yeah.
Modify your car at your own risk.
Yeah. Oh,
What's
shit.
up, YouTube?
Should have some disclaimer of like showing a picture of that flying off a car. All right, so today I just made a side skirt. I'm gonna show you what it looks like in a second here. First and foremost, it's primarily for looks. If it helps with aerodynamics, it does. I went through a couple designs. So before I show you the final product, the design that I was gonna be going with first is something similar to essentially what like CCCs and other brands look like. I ended up choosing to go against that, and we went with like a Z type of channel, as you can kind of see here. So that's what it looks like right now. You can see, so there's 3 screws holding it in. Fade that sucker in. Okay. So the car is up in the air, but this outside Z should be just basically just flush with the outside of the wheel face itself. So there's gonna be some edge trim that we're gonna put at the top here. And the top here is bent over at 1/2 inch. The bottom is bent over at 1/2 inch. And the overall length of the entire channel now is 63 inches. So the way it's being held up is like so. So we've got a riv nut, an M6 riv nut back there, and an M6 riv nut that was shot up into the frame. So I didn't really want to do a lot of like permanent modifications. So you already have this hole down here that are going all the way down, and it's essentially the hole that you put like a body fastener into to hold this side skirt up. So I had to upsize the hole a little bit, and I upsized the plastic hole here with a 1/2 inch drill bit, and then I used like a 3/8 in there to actually put the M6 nut. So you can kind of see it holds there. We sort of bent this bracket, and it holds it. So our concern was, how rigid is this? But it's pretty good. I don't think wind's gonna affect it whatsoever, but I also wanted that if I do go off track or something hits it, this thing will just kind of rip itself off the body as opposed to smoke in the car. So the components, so essentially here's the bare side on the passenger's or the driver's side with our sweet little things holding it up. So again, 1/2 inch bend up top, 1/2 inch bend at the bottom. This is 3 inches in the center here, and I put some edge trim on here just that way it doesn't dig into the original side skirt. M6 riv nuts, and essentially again, here's an 1/8 inch plate that we're using. So that's gonna get welded to this at our desired length. And this will be offset at about a 90, which will kind of look like what you saw underneath. So I'm just gonna kind of film the rest of this process and see where it goes. All right, so the outside's held up. I'm gonna place my 1/2 inch or my 1/8 inch plate kind of just centered roughly over here. And I'm gonna grab this bar that I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna butt it right up against the actual side skirt. And then I'm just gonna simply Sharpie right here where to cut. Pretty simple. And this is where I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna basically weld this right to it. All right, so this is what we got welded up so far. I'm gonna lay this next to the body where it's gonna go, and I can already see the hole is right here, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball in line with it and just draw a Sharpie mark going across. So just like that.
Is he marking the skirt too?
So now I'm just gonna drill a hole right in that, and we're gonna end up mounting this up, and we'll bend this where we need to bend it, and we'll figure out where to weld the next piece to. So again, we got the Sharpie line kind of marked up. I'm just gonna kind of go in the center of it. Hey-oh. Drill bit's way sharper than the other one. And all it's gonna do essentially is accommodate the beauty washer. So we're good. All right, so here's the body hole. Again, the hole is probably like more for an M4, but I don't trust using an M4, so I'm gonna put an M6 riv nut in it. All right, so now the hole is upsized for the riv nut. Now I'm grabbing a 1/2 inch, and all I'm gonna do with that is just kind of cut away the plastic here on the trim. And I wanna make this a little bit bigger, that way I can take the side skirt off and the riv nut stays. All right. Got the riv nutter. Oh yeah, already set up. Look at that. Oh yeah. All right, so this might be a little overkill, but just so it doesn't leak or anything like that, I've got some Permatex on the riv nut here. Insert. Oh, sucks from underneath. All right, so now I've got a riv nut. You can see it's independent here of the side skirt, the OEM one. So now, come out this back up. All right, so it's all bolted up, as you can see. And I kind of just drew a Sharpie line right there, because that's kind of where we're going to want to bend it. Because if you look at it, it kind of has a little bit of flex in it. And if I took this plate right now, the way it sits, it's basically hanging like flush with the skirt. But if I push this up, it tucks it up in there, which is what I'm kind of aiming for more. So I'm going to bend that back a little bit and then weld this guy on there. All right, we just got this clamped in the vise. And we're just going to grab a pair of pliers and we're just going to kind of eyeball this here. That's probably good. And we'll just leave it there. And again, now, just weld this to it like this. All right, so it's bolted up there. Side skirt's kind of mounted where it needs to be. You can see how this is laying nice and flat there. And all I'm gonna kind of do when we go to drill it, we're just gonna pick it up just right there, just a little bit, just to get some more clearance on the bottom there. You can't see it now, but I'd rather not have any chances. So now we're just gonna finish welding that up. Then we'll drill it for a riv nut in here, and we'll end up doing the actual skirt. All right, so again, this is bolted. That's welded now. I'm gonna end up just pushing this up a little bit and sharpieing it, and then it's gonna tell us where we're gonna be able to drill. I don't know why I just recorded that, because I can't do both. All right, so there's the box, actually where that piece sits, and we're just gonna mark this at 1.25 inches. And we're just gonna kind of drill probably off to the side here in the center. So side skirt's mounted, already skipped a step, but I cleaned it with wax and grease remover, sprayed it with a self-etching primer. Yay. And then now we're throwing filler primer, also from Duplicolor, on top of it. And then followed by a Duplicolor trim and bumper paint. I'm just gonna... trim and bumper paint. Kind of goes on sort of weird, but it levels out pretty well. So now it's been painted, I'm gonna put this trim back on here. Yeah, we put the trim on to begin with just as a, to offset the actual height so we could, make the brackets to the proper length. I can do that. You just sort of... This trim actually has like an adhesive in the center of it, so once you push it on there long, like further enough, the adhesive kind of pops and it sort of just will help stay on there. So still got to paint these, but you can kind of get a good look at what they look like hanging from the side of the car. And they are, you can see it's got a little bit of some movement. Not much. That one's pretty sturdy. That one, a little bit of movement again. So obviously when it's on there, if I go off track or something like that, it'd be nice for the skirt just to rip off the car as opposed to smoke the car. So I kind of want to move a little bit, but I need them to be rigid enough that obviously it stays in its place. All right, so that wraps up the side skirts. I think they came out really good. I'll admit it was primarily an aesthetic thing as opposed to performance. If I do get some performance out of it too, double win, right? Fantastic. I've got about 100 miles on them right now, so they've seen some dirt and some rocks, whatever. So far the paint on them has held up real well. And I know it's gonna happen. It's gonna get chipped, and it is what it is, right? So the car goes to the road track. I drive it to work occasionally, at least once a week. The car just gets beat up. It doesn't live in the garage as much as I guess it could. But here's a side view of what it looks like. And I got quite a few people on Instagram and whatnot asking me how flexible is this thing. It's actually pretty dang tight. It's way more rigid than I anticipated for it to be. The thing was, if I went off track, will this thing just rip off the car? That was kind of the idea for it to do that versus mess up the frame. Sort of similar to how my splitter was. It's made out of wood, so hitting some cones, hitting some stuff, whatever. The wood just kind of takes the hit as opposed to ripping the body of the car apart. But I've also had quite a few people ask me if I can make these things. As much as I would love to build these for people, and it would actually be really profitable, I just don't have the time and the stuff to do it. That being said, it cost me for an 8x4 sheet of 63 thou aluminum, I think it was like $96 or $92. So with that being said, I was able to make 5 or 6 sets of these, but I also built these, if you noticed, you know, how I built them to my car. I don't think that's gonna match up to everybody's car, the different lengths, this and that. But if you wanted to do this yourself, if you just went and got a piece cut, you know, with my dimensions, you know, 1/2 inch top, 3, and then, you know, basically a 4-inch piece, and had it bent at 1/2 inch at the top, 1/2 inch at the bottom, you know, some sheet metal shop around town, you could do some stuff, and, you know, you could rig up your own brackets, or you could build it a little bit differently and even self-tap it in the frame, which I wasn't against. I just, almost everything on this car, if you follow this entire build, most stuff on this is removable and to be able to go back. So I didn't want to just self-tap it into the frame, and then if I, you know, don't like them with the, you know, normal bumper and hood setup, I just, you know, it just makes it look cleaner to me. It just is what it is. So if anybody else has followed me on Instagram, this 2000 is back up and running. It's something super simple. This fuel line here, which is connected to the Walboro to the actual pump hanger, has a split in it. So the car wouldn't hold fuel pressure at the rail. Really annoying. It was down for about a week as I was just diagnosing things back and forth a little bit as I got off work. But moral of that story, she's up, she's running, super happy. So the next track day, as long as the wife can also take off work, I'm hoping to have her run the car, run the S2000 track. I think it'd be super cool to drive around the track with my wife, and, you know, 2 Hondas just having a good time. I'm not gonna touch brakes or anything on this car. I'm gonna wait and see how she drives it. And based off that, I'll gut brakes and a little bit better cooling or something like that. Power-wise, it's gonna be fine. I really do wanna drive the S2000 around it soon. I probably will if she comes out, but I don't wanna get super busy around behind the wheel of that car because I know it's gonna drive completely different than the CRX. I wanna get more seat time with that. So the next event is 14 May, next practice session. So we're gonna get to test out the mini radiator along with testing out just, you know, I got some new tires. That'll probably be the next video. I love my Rota slipstreams. I asked some polls for people to give me some other wheel options. The cozies I did sell. I just wanted a lighter wheel, something just for the track. The slipstreams are light, they're measured out. I think when I weighed them, like at 11.8 pounds without a tire on them. So I've got 2 other wheels. If you follow me on Instagram again, you saw the 2 other rims that I bought. I bought a new daily wheel that I'm gonna drive around with, and then a track wheel that I drove around with. But enough of that for this. Stay tuned for the next video. It's essentially gonna be me doing the wheel setup and how I'm trying to do some different things with it. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Got any questions, comments, do put them in the comments down below. So again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.